Hello there. My name is Luis Almeida. I'm a student of the philosophy of Spinoza. I've mastered his ethics. Now, very few people have mastered his ethics. I'm not talking about just reading his ethics, I'm talking about understanding his ethics. Now, I must confess, I don't know all of it. I would say about three-quarters of it, but that's enough. I found that Spinoza has literally changed my life. Literally. No longer am I fearful as I was as a young man up to even the age of 60. One day I woke up one morning and I felt something different. And right away I knew what it was. Fear, my old friend, was gone. I lived in fear all my life practically, 60 up to the age of 60 almost. And what was I afraid of? And I'm sure you can relate to this. I'm afraid of what people think of me. I'm afraid of saying something stupid. I'm afraid of offending someone. I'm fearful of rejection, fear of being criticized, fear of public opinion, fear of saying something stupid. But when fear left me, what replaced this fear? I had a sense that I could say anything I wanted to say. Not hurtful, but not be afraid to say things. Not be so concerned with what you think about what I'm saying. I'm not saying talking about something crazy, but talking about Gurdjieff or Spinoza. I'm going to focus on Spinoza today. Because in Spinoza's ethics, now mind you, this man wrote his ethics during the 17th century. And it was published after his death. His prior books was banned, burned, because he dared to challenge the status quo. What was he? What did he want? He wanted to help society, the public, to overcome their state of being enslaved, being dominated by the authorities, by opinions, by the church, by the monarch. One of the things that most religions, I would say all religions, they promote fear. Because if you don't follow me, you're going to hell or you're going to be punished. So Spinoza wrote a book called The Theological Political Treatise. And in that book, he said, now mind you, Spinoza, when he studies something, he studies it intensely. He studied the Bible. And he looked at the Bible and saw that the Bible was not the work of God, excuse me. The Bible is not the work of God. It's the works of man. There's so much contradictions in the Bible. And so he dared to say that. And he was basically excommunicated. He also said that being Jewish, or not, what does it mean to be Jewish? It's a religion. It's not a race. It's a religion. It's a belief. So his family was Portuguese Jews. But anyway, he was excommunicated because he dared to say that God is not a personal God. And the Jewish people are not the chosen people. That God is for everyone. There's no special person that God favors. And plus, God is not an anthropomorphic being. God is nature, but what do you mean by nature? Scholars look at Spinoza as a pantheist. What are they talking about? Oh, you can find God in a tree. No, that's not it. That's not Spinoza. That's not what Spinoza called God is nature. Yes, the tree is a mode, a product of something else. One of God's attributes called the attribute of extension or matter. The universe is extension. Now there's other mode called the attribute of thought. Excuse me. Now the attribute of thought has to do with thinking. Now, clear thinking, God is not confused. He has pure, clear ideas. So we are part of this God body, the attribute of extension, and the mind, the attribute of thought. Now, Spinoza says that the infinite understanding is called the Son of God. I found that in the short treatise. It's beautiful. Again, I've been studying Spinoza for, say, over 50 years. I was first introduced to Spinoza by my teacher, the former teacher, Gregory Grover. And I was with his group for over 20 years, and he helped me understand Spinoza. But not until I left his group after 24 years, I began to study Spinoza. Why? Because even if I didn't understand Spinoza, probably 10% at that time. It took me another 30 years to really understand it to where I can communicate Spinoza. So I'm not offended if you reject me. That's your problem. I'm not rejected. I don't feel rejection. You might be angry at me. That's fine. That's your anger. It doesn't affect me. So Spinoza, his ethics, and this is where I think most people try to understand Spinoza and intellectually. And there are many of you who are highly intelligent, high IQ people who debate Spinoza or think you understand Spinoza because you can repeat what he's saying. You know, there's talk about Jesus for just a moment. Spinoza had a high regard for Jesus. Jesus is the man. He wasn't the Son of God. They worshiped him. Why? Because it's easy to worship someone than to follow the ideas that he was communicating. However, he communicated in parables, which few understand. I understand his parables because I understand Spinoza. Spinoza said that Jesus was a man, just like you, just like myself, a man who understood the laws of nature and understood God's nature. Where did he get this knowledge? I don't know. Nobody knows. I think that knowledge is hidden. Right now, there are some great videos out there, and there probably are some of them are animated, beautiful color, or AI produced. Well done. But one thing that they don't emphasize, they don't understand. They talk about Spinoza's philosophy is about reason, rational thinking. No, that's only a part of it. The highest knowledge that Spinoza communicates is intuition. Intuition. Reason is a second level of knowledge, and the third level of knowledge, which is the highest, is intuition. And the lowest level of knowledge is hearsay and experiences. And that's where the majority of people live, at the level of hearsay and experience. You hear something, you experience something, and you believe it. You don't understand it. It took me a long time to understand Spinoza. So these videos, which are greatly produced, beautiful, well done, and some of them will tackle these problems about the Bible or about hell, about Jesus. Great, I would recommend listening to them. But again, they never talk about intuition because reason without intuition causes misery. You can only understand God's nature through intuition. You cannot understand God's nature through reason. Reason helps us see how things are put together, how people can communicate ideas to one another clearly communicate. You can understand mathematics, geometry, how to build a car, how to build a plane, how to become a doctor, a lawyer, how to mow a lawn, how to drive a car. This is common knowledge, reason, rational thinking. But intuition is a whole different level. You cannot understand Spinoza with reason alone. You must have intuition. Because with intuition, you're able to take in the knowledge. See, understanding, see, Gurdjieff had this insight. Understanding cannot be done intellectually. There must be an emotion with it. And what is that emotion? Desire and love. Desire to understand and the love of effort of understanding. Now, right now, I mean, you go on the internet, on YouTube, and there's some beautiful videos. I mean, there's still videos of Alan Watts. Now, Alan Watts, I think, lived up to be, what, 56, 57? He wasn't really, he has great humor, great insights. And however, I don't think he really fulfilled his life. He wasn't fulfilled. People loved him. And he says wonderful things. But it doesn't change a damn thing. It doesn't change you. You must be involved in a group. Some of you are very satisfied with your life. And Gurdjieff said something very important. He says, and I want to talk about Gurdjieff for just a few minutes. He says something very important. He says, you must be involved in a group. Because it's so easy to lie to oneself and imagine that you are growing. How do you know if you're growing? There must be someone above you that knows where you are. And I know where you are. I have several students. One of them really loves this work. And it has highly intuitive nature. The other one, highly intellectual, but lacks emotion. And you must have an emotion to understand this work. There must be an emotion with your knowledge. Because if it's a knowledge without emotion, it's abstract and you can't use it. Again, the emotion is desire and love. Now, there are individuals like Eckhart Tolle, Osho, and others, many others. There are videos, great videos. And I think Eckhart Tolle, he has all these seminars. But one of the realities that he doesn't understand is what Spinoza understood. That we follow laws of nature. And there are no such thing as free will. Free will is an illusion. We're aware of our desires, and we're aware of our emotions and reactions, but we're not aware, we're unconscious of the causes of them. To understand Spinoza, you must understand the idea of understanding. And that's where the improvement of Spinoza's ethics. Now, interesting about Spinoza's ethics is that, I'm going to get his book right here. Excuse me for a moment. The ethics. Now, there's a part here called the improvement. It's on the improvement of the understanding. And if you don't understand that part, if you don't understand it, you'll never understand the ethics. Because in the understanding, Spinoza says, what is the understanding? Is the mind. The mind wants to understand. Now, there's another part of human nature called the ego nature, or as Carl Jung would say, the shadow. I'm not sure if he really said the ego is the shadow, but I think the ego is the shadow. It's like a substitute self. We need a self to survive. Life is difficult. Many of us are alone, lonely. Many of us are depressed. Most of us live in fear. Whenever you have doubt in the mind, there's fear. If you don't know who you are, there's fear. And this is what Spinoza has given me, a strong sense of self. But to develop a strong sense of self, I must look at my emotions, my anger, my hate, my pain, my desires. Now, I wrote a book. I wrote a book called, let me get it for you. It's called The Way of Spinoza and Gurdjieff. Case studies. Some of my students endeavored to understand Spinoza, and they applied Spinoza to their nature to help them understand. And I have examples. How to grow. However, reading the book will not help. Why? There's an old saying, and I think Jesus said this: you cannot put new wine in old bottles. You cannot put new wine in old bottles. What does that mean? You cannot put new ideas into a mind that's full of confusions or preconditioned ideas or beliefs or habitual ideas. This work of Spinoza has given me a new life, a real life. I'm 84 years old. I'm not, I have this happiness and this joy. I feel fulfilled. And I can be alone and not feel lonely. Many of you feel lonely. Many of you are with people and still feel alone. Many of you live a pretentious life. You hear the word being authentic, be true to yourself. Wonderful words. But how do you come to that when we have this preconditioned state, this preconditioned life? Where does precondition develop? From infancy, for God's sakes. Your parents, your siblings, your guardians, the school system, you're educated to be false, not true to yourself. I remember a seminar that I was going to attend. How to influence people. How to be attractive. And the whole idea is how to influence people to like you, or to, in sales, to have the confidence that they'll buy from you. So society is not interested in your growth, your personal growth. You must be a productive individual and pay your taxes, put food on the table, work, have a job, maybe be married, have children. But they're not talking about your inner life. I think psychiatry has tried, put a great effort. Sigmund Freud did a great job. Also, Carl Jung. Carl Jung, some of you love him, but he goes into the great imagination and into the world of dreams. And that's where you get your knowledge. Spinoza would say that's nonsense. And I know that's nonsense, because you cannot really learn anything from dreams. Who's doing the learning? What I suggest you do, look at my website, get my books, give me a call. Maybe you want to be a student, because as Gurdjieff says, you must be tired of yourself, because you're not making any progress repeating the old words in your mind. You just can't will yourself to be positive, will yourself to change. You must begin to see what's going on. What is your pain? Why do you suffer? Why are you anxious? Why are you always trying to please others? Because that's what you grew up in, that kind of environment, to be pleasing, to be a people pleaser. Gurdjieff talked about there are three centers: the intellectual, the emotional, and the moving center. We're all three. So I do introduce Gurdjieff to my work as an introduction. because he says some profound things. But the real work is Spinoza, how to awaken the mind, because there's a method in the improvement of our understanding, a method to understand, to improve your understanding. I said a lot. Maybe you'll call me, maybe you're not. Most likely you won't, because what really prevents people from calling me is fear. Fear of the truth. Fear of looking where you are. Again, some of you have courage to look at yourself, but most of us will not. There are few people who are awake. Are you one of them? I know I am. And my desire is to live to be 113. I've got another, 29 years to live. That's great. I love living. I love my life, and I love sharing these ideas with you. I hope to hear from you.